My stepfather said he'd cover my tuition if I worked for his company every summer. I did it without complaining for 4 years. At graduation, he handed me an envelope. Inside was a note. Time to grow up. Figure it out. No check. No support. Just silence. You're not even my real kid, he said when I asked why. My mom stood behind him, looking away. I packed my car that night. 6 months later, he applied for a loan from a bank I was now working at, and I'm 24 now. This all happened in the last couple years, but the part that really matters started when I was around 16. I was living in Lexington, Kentucky with my mom and her second husband, Curtis. My real dad died when I was little. I was only 8 when it happened. Massive heart attack out of nowhere. I still remember watching the EMTs push his body out on a stretcher. He was my hero. He wasn't perfect, but he loved me. After that, it was just me and Mom for a while. Then she met Curtis. He ran a small HVAC and construction company. Acted like he was God's gift to business. She married him within a year of knowing him. I never liked him, but I kept my mouth shut. Curtis always made sure I knew I wasn't his kid. He never said it directly back then, but it showed. He'd act like a nice guy when Mom was watching, but when it was just us, different story. Cold. Dismissive. Like I was a stray dog he tolerated. Still, when I was 16, he came to me with what he called a real man's deal. He said, "You want to go to college, right? Here's the deal. You work for my company every summer and every school break. I'll cover your college. Full tuition. No loans, no debt. You give me your time, I'll invest in you." I asked if he was serious. He said he was. He told my mom the same thing in front of me. "This is a deal I'm making with him," he said. "Work for me, and I'll pay for his education." Mom just nodded. She looked tired, like she didn't want to get involved. I remember thinking it was a little weird that there wasn't any paperwork or anything, but I was a teenager. I believed him. So I did it. Every summer starting at 16, I worked at Frank's HVAC and construction. Long hours. No pay. He said it was tuition credit. I'd wake up before sunrise, load materials into trucks, clean job sites, even help with installs. He had me doing way more than I should have, especially for a kid with no experience. I missed out on all the usual teenage stuff. No real summer vacations. No parties. No sleeping in. Just work. And every time I asked about college stuff, he'd say, "Don't worry. You're taken care of." I never complained. Not once. Because I believed it. I believed him. Fast forward. I got into the University of Kentucky. Business administration. I worked hard, studied like crazy, graduated with honors. At my graduation dinner, Curtis was there. Sitting at the end of the table like a king. My mom sat beside him, quiet. Barely spoke the whole meal. After we ate, Curtis handed me an envelope. Just slid it across the table. No smile. No handshake. No. Congrats. Inside was a single note. Time to grow up. Figure it out. That was it. I looked up, confused. Thought maybe the check was hidden under the paper or something. But no. That was the whole thing. I asked him what it meant. He just leaned back in his chair and said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world, "You're not even my real kid. Why would I pay for your school?" I remember everything about that moment. The way he said it. His smirk. My mom, staring at her plate, not saying a damn word. I asked her, "Mom?" And she just looked away. I walked out that night and never looked back. I had no money. Not even $300 in my account. Student loans were already kicking in. I packed my car with what I could fit, and I left Lexington. I ended up in Cincinnati. Crashed with a buddy from college. Slept on a busted couch for 2 months. Took every job I could find, Uber Eats, data entry, temp office work. I was running on fumes, but I wasn't going to crawl back. Finally, I landed a temp gig at a bank. It wasn't much, but I dressed sharp, worked late, kept my head down. My supervisor noticed. 2 months in, they offered me a full-time job as a junior loan analyst. It felt like I was finally crawling out of the hole. Then, about 6 months after I left Lexington, something wild happened. I was reviewing new loan applications, just another regular Thursday, when I saw a familiar name. Curtis W. Franks. My whole body went cold. I clicked into the file and saw it, $310,000 small business expansion loan. He wanted to open a second location in Louisville. I sat there staring at his name. Couldn't believe it. Of all the banks, of all the analysts, it landed on my desk. I opened the file. His application was sloppy. His business plan was half-baked, full of buzzwords and vague goals. His numbers didn't add up. His credit wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. More importantly, I noticed he still had an unpaid balance from a previous $50,000 loan. He still owed over $17,000. Then I saw a subcontractor lawsuit sitting in the court records. He'd stiffed a roofing team the year before. The case was still open. My job wasn't to approve or deny loans. That was for the senior underwriters, but I wrote reports. I flagged red flags. I highlighted risks. And that's what I did. I laid it all out, the missed payments, the lawsuit, the weak business plan, the old loans still unpaid. I didn't lie. I didn't twist anything. I just told the truth. In detail. I submitted the report. Flagged the loan as high risk. Recommended denial. And waited. About a week after I submitted the report, I got pulled into my manager's office. He was holding Curtis's file. He said, "You wrote this one?" I nodded. He gave me this half-impressed, half-concerned look and said, "Thorough work. You dig deep on this?" I said, "Yes, sir. Every part." He didn't say much else. Just nodded again and said, "All right. We're denying it." Good eye. I left the office shaking a little. Not because I was nervous. Because I knew that was it. That was the moment Curtis's plan started to fall apart. 2 days later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't pick it up. But I did. "Is this Aaron?" The voice hit me in the gut. "Curtis. It's Curtis Franks." I stayed quiet. "They said the loan's denied?" "Said some analyst flagged problems." "Said you work there?" I still didn't say anything. Then he asked it straight. "You did this to me?" I finally answered. "No. You did it to yourself." Silence. Then he snapped. "You bitter little punk. You think you're better than me now? You think this is revenge?" I didn't raise my voice. I just said, "You made a promise. I kept my end. You screwed me over. I didn't come looking for you, your name landed on my desk. I did my job. You could have passed it off." "Yeah," I said. "But I didn't." Another pause. Then he went full nasty. "You ungrateful brat. I took you in. I gave you a roof. I fed you. And I worked for you. For free. For 4 years. You think this is gonna ruin me? You think I need one loan from one bank? Maybe not," I said. "But this denial gets reported. It'll show up on your business credit. Next bank will see it. And the next. And the next." He hung up. A few weeks later, I got a message from one of Curtis's old employees, Daryl. He used to drive one of the work trucks. We talked sometimes back when I worked summers. He said, "Hey man, you hear about Curtis?" I said no. Business is tanking. He tried getting credit from 2 other places. Got denied. Word spreading. Suppliers don't want to front him materials anymore. I quit 2 weeks ago. He laid off 3 other guys too. I didn't reply. But I won't lie. I read that message about 10 times. And I smiled. That same week, my mom emailed me. Not called. Not texted. Just an email. Subject line: "We need to talk." All it said was, I didn't know he wasn't going to pay. I thought he meant it. "Please call me." I didn't answer. I stared at her words for a long time. I didn't know. That's all she had to say? I lived in that house. Worked my hands raw for 4 years. She watched it happen. And when Curtis handed me that note, figure it out. She didn't blink. She didn't speak. She let me walk out with nothing. And now she wanted to talk? No. I marked it as unread. Closed the browser. A month passed. Then 2. Work got better. I got a raise. I started building credit, paying off debt. I rented my own 1-bedroom apartment. Still modest, but it was mine. One morning I stopped by the gas station before work. Right outside I saw an old white truck that looked familiar. Curtis's. The company name had been scraped off the side. Just faint letters left behind from the old logo. I froze. And then he came out of the gas station. He looked older. Gray in his beard. Thinner. Tired. We locked eyes. He stopped. Walked toward me. "You proud of yourself?" he said. I didn't answer. "You tore down everything I built." I looked him dead in the eye. "You built it on lies." He stepped closer. Too close. "You want me to beg? Is that what this is?" I didn't say anything. You'll regret this, he said. Then he turned and walked away. I watched that truck drive off, taillight cracked, bumper dragging a little on one side. I stood there a minute longer. Then I went to work. But I could feel something wasn't done yet. Not completely. Because Curtis wasn't the only one who failed me. My mom did too. And that part hadn't come back around. Not yet. A few days after I ran into Curtis outside the gas station, I got a certified letter at work. It was addressed to me, but sent through the bank's legal department. Inside was a formal complaint. Curtis had filed a grievance with the bank's ethics committee. He accused me of personal bias and conflict of interest, claiming I intentionally sabotaged his loan out of revenge. At first, I felt a jolt of panic. I worked hard to stay clean. I didn't do anything wrong. But the complaint was serious enough that it triggered an internal review. My manager called me into his office again. He said, "We have to look into it. You'll be on admin leave for the week. It's standard procedure. Not disciplinary, just policy." So now, because Curtis couldn't get his way, I was sitting in my apartment wondering if I was about to lose the job I fought like hell for. I handed over everything. My notes, emails, access logs. HR did a full sweep. They even checked the timestamp on every file I touched and compared it to Curtis's complaint. After 5 tense days, I got the call. "Review is complete. You followed every policy. Your report was solid. He doesn't have a case." I was back at work the next day. But I wasn't the same. Now it was personal. Curtis didn't just screw me over in high school. He was still trying to ruin me as an adult. And the part that burned me most? He wasn't afraid of burning the little bit of family we had left. A couple of weeks later, I got another message from Daryl, the old employee who used to text me updates. This time it wasn't just gossip. He wrote, "Yo, I prob shouldn't be telling you this, but Curtis is trying to scam one of his new clients. Bid super low to win a contract, then doubled the charges in the invoice. Customers threatening to sue. I got screenshots from when I worked the books." His estimates and emails don't match. I read that message 3 times. Then I wrote back, "Can you send me what you have?" 10 minutes later, my inbox blew up with files. Screenshots. PDFs, email threads. It was messy, but clear enough to show what he was doing. He was baiting clients with low bids, then hitting them with unforeseen costs. After the work started. Classic construction fraud. And it wasn't just one job. There were at least 3 different names in the documents Daryl sent. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it yet. But I saved every file. Backed them up twice. I was building something. Then my mom called. Actual call. Not email. I let it go to voicemail. The message was short. Her voice sounded shaken. "Aaron, please. We need to talk. I'm sorry. I didn't know what he was doing. I thought he was helping you. I didn't think he'd really, please call me." I didn't call back. I didn't delete it either. Because now I started wondering, why now? Why all of a sudden? So I did some digging. Quietly. Through public records I found something. My mom had co-signed on a line of credit for Curtis's business 2 years ago. $90,000. And guess what? That account was now in default. Curtis didn't just destroy my trust. He dragged her down with him, too. And I started thinking, maybe that's why she was reaching out now. Maybe the guilt finally hit her, or maybe the collections did. So I waited. I didn't say anything. I just watched. Because I had a feeling the final collapse hadn't hit yet. But it was coming. About 3 weeks after I learned my mom had co-signed on Curtis's loan, I got a knock at my apartment door. It was late, almost 9 p.m. I looked through the peephole. My mom. I stood there for a minute, not moving. But she knocked again, softer. "Aaron, please." I opened the door. She looked older. Tired. Smaller than I remembered. No makeup. Hair pulled back. She was holding a manila folder and a canvas purse that was fraying at the straps. I didn't say anything. "I didn't know what he was doing," she said quietly. "I swear. I thought he was going to take care of you. That was the deal. He told me he had everything covered." I crossed my arms. "You watched me work. For free. You saw me come home every day, beat up, sweating, sore. And you never said anything." Her voice cracked. "I thought it was just hard work. I didn't think he'd lie. I thought maybe he was teaching you something." I shook my head. "You watched me break my back. For his company. And then you watched him hand me a piece of paper instead of a check." She looked down. I thought he was bluffing. I thought maybe he had the money set aside in another account. But when you left, I saw his real face. She handed me the folder. I opened it. Inside were bank statements, late notices, and court documents. Curtis's business was under investigation. One of the clients he scammed had filed a fraud complaint. The county inspector got involved after a drywall ceiling collapsed on a new build site. Turns out Curtis used unlicensed workers and skipped permits to cut costs. She pointed to the papers. I'm on the loan, she said. They're coming after me. My savings. The house. I have nothing left. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel pity either. Just a dull sense of confirmation. The truth always finds its way out. Then she said something I didn't expect. I divorced him last week. I looked up. I filed as soon as I found out what he did to you. What he was doing to his clients. I waited too long, I know. I wanted to believe he was a good man. But I was wrong. I didn't know what to say. So I said nothing. She wiped her face. I'm not here to ask you for money. I just wanted you to know that I believe you. And I'm sorry. I closed the folder. I'm not the same person anymore, I said. You weren't there when I needed you. I can't forget that. She nodded. I know. I wouldn't expect you to. She walked out without another word. 2 months passed. Curtis's business was shut down. The fraud case went public. His company was stripped of its license. Civil suits piled up. He owed over $250,000 in damages. Couldn't pay. Went bankrupt. I followed every headline. Quietly. Privately. I never commented. Never showed up. But I watched. Then came the final nail. I submitted an anonymous tip to the IRS. I had everything. The underreported income. The fake write-offs. The cash labor he never claimed. Daryl's files had it all. 3 months later, Curtis was arrested for tax fraud. They raided his house. Took his truck. Froze his assets. He pled guilty. They gave him 18 months. Not a long sentence. But long enough to destroy what little reputation he had left. He tried calling me once before he reported to county jail. I let it go to voicemail. All he said was, "You ruined me. I hope you're proud." I deleted it without even listening to the end. As for me, I'm still at the bank. I just got promoted, senior analyst now. I paid off my student loans last month. I started giving talks to high school kids about financial literacy and how to avoid traps like the one I lived through. I never went back to Lexington. But I kept that note, the one Curtis gave me on graduation day. Time to grow up. Figure it out. I framed it. It hangs in my apartment now, right above my desk. Because I did figure it out. He taught me more than he meant to. And now he's rotting in a jail cell, staring at the empty space where his empire used to be. You want to know what revenge looks like? It's not fire and screaming. It's silence. It's watching the man who made you feel small drown in the consequences of his own lies, while you build something better, without ever raising your voice.